This is Sybert signing in to Red Alert 3 and on the map Infinity Isle for Game 1 of this best of 11. On the left side, playing the blue, playing the Allies, this is Andrey. And on the right side, playing the green, playing the Soviets, this is GreenAlert. And also, welcome to the cast, XYHC and Zads. How are you guys doing today?
Well, wonderful. We get to see a rematch between Andrey and GreenAlert.
Doing great today. Thank you for having me.
All right, so this is a rematch, as Zad has mentioned, from Chrono Clash. So if you haven't seen Chrono Clash, definitely check out that tournament. Check out the series in particular that GreenAlert and Andrey played. It was a phenomenal series overall. And this is basically a rematch because that series was so entertaining. I really enjoyed GreenAlert's performance, and spoilers for Chrono Clash, he did not get to join us on Championship Sunday, so I wanted to see him play a little bit of a longer series. Unfortunately, the longest series he played in Chrono Clash was a best of 5, so I wanted to see him perform in a little bit of a longer series, and we're seeing that flak-heavy style at the beginning from GreenAlert. But this is a show match, so these guys are playing for $75. And a big thanks to MediaStorm for sponsoring this show match, for providing a rematch between these two players. And of course, a big thanks to all the folks who support the channel over on Patreon. But that is where MediaStorm sponsored this show match, over on Patreon.
Andrey's already lost the Vindicator. Yikes. Now, this is a very classic competitive map here, being Infinity Isle, and I personally believe the map is more Soviets favored, so Andrey having a bad start here is not going to go well for him, because I believe Soviets would be able to really seize the initiative using Twin Blades. There are a lot of refineries spread around. Twin Blades can easily swing around to harass all of those harvesters, whereas Allies' best counter against that is just IFVs, which cannot really keep up with Twin Blades given the terrain. Meanwhile, there are also all of the waters allowing both rocks to flank along with Twin Blades. So that is why I believe GreenAlerts may be going into this match with more of an advantage, especially with Andrey being down on Air Force.
Andrey doing a bit of damage here to GreenAlert's oil derrick, but not capturing his own kind of this faster airfield start that he did go for initially on this map. Not proving to be all that bountiful.
Now, one nice thing for Andrey is, even though he lost those Vindicators because he was able to snipe one of the reactors, GreenAlert was in low power mode from the time he moved his MCV, or basically from the time he lost that reactor until his super reactor finished. So his entire build is slowed down by about 10 or 15% from that reactor snipe.
But as I mentioned earlier, Twin Blades would be GreenAlert's best force to rely on here, and you can see indeed he is going for airfield before War Factory even set it up. Andrey might take advantage of that using Riptides, but there is a very good number of flak troopers to defend against that.
Vindicators coming in again and just bombing a bear because they cannot find anything else. And Andrey actually finally going for his oil derrick.
That classic 3 to 4 minute oil derrick cap. Andrey goes up to the middle of the map. GreenAlert has already set up double walls on the forefront, but then backs away to add his 4th refinery out at the water. These two guys coming in very similar to the sort of mid-game, but approaching it from different angles. Andrey going out to the water first, getting the Riptides, getting the naval yard, and then moving to the high ground, and GreenAlert doing the opposite.
Andrey is ahead economically with the expansions, but GreenAlert has been using the time to build his army. A dock does spot the Twin Blade approaching, but there are a lot of flak troopers loaded in, ready to do the harassments.
A couple of flaks switching immediately to magnetic mine. They're going to be able to get either the refinery damage or the harvester, and they weren't able to tag the harvester at all. They were able to get a significant amount of damage on that refinery.
Flags do, of course, leave a mine after they die if they are in their ability mode where they throw mines. So they
second harassment on the high ground, and the harvester manages to escape. So once again, GreenAlert is going to have to settle for just mining the refinery, and he will do a decent amount of damage, but unfortunately not enough to knock it down, and Andrey maintains his economic lead.
GreenAlert has been doing a good job pulling back his Twin Blades, but he is sacrificing all of those Flak Troopers with each harassment, and Flak Troopers are very expensive. They will add up quickly.
And now we are seeing a armor facility out from Andrey. He is also on tier 2 now, so he has caught up to GreenAlert, and now he might start putting on some pressure in the middle of the map.
Andrey might be looking to take advantage of GreenAlert's lack of ground army, with him not having war factories, so if Guardians manage to break down those walls, GreenAlert wouldn't really have a good response against a steamroll land army.
Yeah, and it'll be another minute before that war factory is even up, so GreenAlert just kind of has to exist with what he's got.
Yeah, the problem here with GreenAlert is he doesn't have much force on the ground. He's never really built a war factory in this game yet, so that's actually kind of a big deal. I'm surprised to see a Soviet player who hasn't built a war factory like a few minutes into the game.
Looks like the MCV is moving all the way up to the ridge there, trying to secure a 5th refinery as well as a naval yard. So again, no war factories yet.
The Dolphins and Hydrofoils get scouted at the very top from Andrey, but he can actually deny the expansions here potentially if he does do enough damage onto the naval yard, because the Hydrofoils can disable the Tesla coil. Nice build blocks from GreenAlert though.
I think the blocks are gonna prevent the weapon jammers from Hydrofoils from getting the Tesla coil. I've actually never seen that before.
That's kind of brilliant. He does actually allow both of the reactors to finish, so maybe there's some lost cash there. He could have potentially canceled them, but, you know, we'll put that aside. Twin Blades swing over an Athena cannon in the middle. It's straight to tier 3 for Andrey, so this is now a very expensive MCV that's sitting out front, and definitely a target for GreenAlert. One Athena cannon goes down, and still no war factory. This is a double naval yard build before war factory. He's starting his battle lab before war factory. Does look like Riptides are going to be able to take down this naval yard with the help of the Vindicators.
Now GreenAlert does have 2 build queues with Crusher Queen added, so he could be taking up and trying to get war factory at the same time, except now he does not have enough economy to support that.
And Cryocopter's out on the map now as well with the tier 3 of allies. Will be getting very dangerous for GreenAlert if he's unable to get out a strong navy before that.
This game is turning so weird with this navy focus from GreenAlert. At the same time, a couple of flaks are getting deployed via Twin Blades on the high ground, but they get eaten up by that Mirage tank, and, well, the Twin Blades do survive. Meanwhile, on the south side of the map, that Akula sub finally goes down to the Riptides, but this naval yard has been a thorn in the side of Andrey. He has shut it down once, and now he's looking to shut it down again, and still, finally, the war factory at 8 minutes 20. A classic timing for the war factory. You know, that classic Soviet build where you get your war factory at 8 minutes 20.
Well, it looks like a bunch of Akulas are harassing Andrey's backline. Of course, allies don't have build radius around their water refineries, so shutting that down is going to give GreenAlert quite a lead in the late game. Having the economic lead with Andrey being majorly delayed, if he moved his MCV, he's going to lose tech access. It's just a conundrum for the allies.
And both of the Akulas managed to escape.
They do, and in fact, in the middle though, Andrey is starting the attack finally with all of his Mirage tanks. He's breaking down the 4 stacked walls and pushing forward.
That might be too much of a ground army for GreenAlert to hold back.
Yeah, I mean, he got his war factory so late into the game. He does have air units and actually quite a good air army here with 4 MiGs and 4 Twin Blades, but if there's some IFEs here, it's just not going to be enough.
Especially in combination with Athena's Aegis Shield.
Cryocopter joining in.
All right, more and more walls are being added on, trying to delay this allied army, but there is certainly a ground army problem. Are V4s the answer? I mean, I guess they could pick off some of these units, and yeah, it's going to be even more walls coming in to delay this even further. A couple of Riptides, a couple of Hydrofoils on the north side of the map. They're going to try and put a bit of pressure onto this expansion at the same time as attacking the front door. The Akulas are back at the expansion of Andrey. Everything is happening at once. In the middle of the map, Athenas are resetting. It's going to be satellites coming in to try and deter this army, and they're going to be forcing the army back. No, they let the satellites land. Andrey just giving units away for free there, but the Mirages have broken through on the left side of the wall, pushing forward. Vindicator's going to be joining the fight as well. Twin Blades are here. Not a lot of anti-air on the ground. There are 2 IFVs. If GreenAlert can deal with the 2 IFVs, then the Mirages will be dead in the water. The Shrink is actually going to be helping that MCV escape for the current moment, and the attacks around the edges of the map have kind of paused as we focus on the middle.
The 2 IFVs, of course, would not be enough to defend against all of those Twin Blades, especially without the Athena cannons dead. So now Andrey is forced to retreat, even though he had a major lead in the ground army.
Yeah, very big miss by Andrey, letting all those units die to the orbital drop there, and his army in the top right corner also kind of just chilling and doing nothing. There's 2 Tesla coils built by GreenAlert, and he's just playing kind of a very campy style on the naval side of this game.
Now he is a refinery up from Andrey, so if he manages to secure his own water refinery at all costs, he will just be so far ahead economically.
Cryo shot going to be coming in. Riptides are here nearby, so this is going to be the reactors getting knocked down. One of the Tesla coils getting eliminated. Another body block, a naval yard with the perfect position here from GreenAlert. My gosh, this guy's positioning is just perfect in this series. The Tesla coil comes back online. Meanwhile, it's going to be more and more walls deployed at the front line. There are 3 cryocopters in the sky. There are lots of Mirage tanks on the ground. Well, there are 2 cryocopters in the sky.
Well, that is a lot of IFVs this time. Andrey is ready to deal with the Twin Blades, and with Apox being basically unviable, with cryocopters being around, and GreenAlert having so few hammer tanks, if those walls break, it will be his demise.
He doesn't really have much to stop it. He's not dropping any Tesla coils on the front lines either, not that they would help against the Athena cannons. And this is looking like a slow death for GreenAlert as Andrey's army approaches.
Oh, Andrey doesn't dodge that V4 rocket. V4s will one-shot an Athena if they actually land their full power shot, and there indeed they do. Mirages are on the front line. Hammer tanks are going to try and steal those weapons. IFVs need to be dealt with so the Twin Blades can kill everything else. It's going to be up to the Kirov to go for that kill. As the Flax come forward, the Mirages step up. V4's landing some shots. Lucky there as the Terror Drone locks down a Mirage tank and allows the Kirov to kill it. It's a mess of a fight from both sides, but the Kirov was the one thing that Andrey didn't account for. 2 Kirovs are too powerful for this allied ground army, and out on the water it looks like Andrey is once again taking a break. The army of the allies gets broken, and GreenAlert holds the defense and gets the win in game number 1.
Wow.
You guys want to do some?
Really,
Yeah, go for the post game.
Really good.
Sorry,
Yeah.
reset.
Sorry. Yeah, GreenAlert is really good at making use of Kirovs that are usually considered a competitively unviable units, but we've seen him time and again use Kirovs against very highly skilled players and making it work. And Kirovs tanking against those IFB rockets actually enabled Twin Blades to go in and equalize the tank numbers there by killing off a couple Mirage tanks, whereas Andrey, despite having all those IFVs, just was not retargeting fast enough.
Perhaps Andrey should consider trying to use the spy a bit more in these games, seeing as there's multiple Kirovs coming out from GreenAlert almost every single time he can get his hands on them.
Oh, that is right, a spy infiltrating a lab. Nobody's ever done it competitively, and I almost forgot it was a thing, and I really don't think at the spur of the moment anybody would think of that when they see multiple Kirovs, but it would have been a very good idea.
However, this is a best of 11, so one game does not the series make. Andrey is going to get his shot to put a point on the board in the very next match. And that takes us to Industrial Strength. It is loser picks map, as is tradition. And also, I probably should have mentioned this is the same map pool that we had for Chrono Clash. So this truly is a rematch. The only difference is the prize pool, and of course this is a much longer series. But game 2, down 0-1 Kicking it off, playing allies, of course. This is Andrey. And in the southern position, playing the green, going double barracks. This is GreenAlert. It was a macro game in game number 1, and it kicked us off with a win for GreenAlert. And now I'm wondering, oh, it's not the fastest airfield. Okay, Andrey is, kind of mixing it up.
Industrial Strength is generally considered to be a very allied favorite map, especially with how powerful turret push here are, which is why we're seeing GreenAlert going for a very infantry heavy game to try to secure the early game and make it so that Andrey would have difficulty pushing for any turrets. Now, of course, GreenAlert has played with Andrey on this map, Industrial Strength, back at the Chrono Clash tournament, and GreenAlert was actually a bit upset that he had to play on this map because it was one of the preset maps, and Andrey actually won that game, so we'll have to see whether Andrey goes into this game with an advantage.
I must say that it's really good to see our ally player here not going for a fast airfield once again. He did go for a barracks finally and did get his oil derrick. So that is lovely from him, and we are seeing double barracks from the Soviets here.
It is straight into tier 2, though, for Andrey, and he does go airfield. I don't remember ever seeing a double refinery into tier 2 into the airfield. You normally get the airfield first so that you can build your Vindicator or your Apollo while you're also getting tier 2. However, it's straight into the cryocopter. He goes for his first freeze, and there's literally nothing on the map nearby to shoot those frozen units.
Even though Andrey is quite well known for his cheese builds, he has been switching up his cheese styles quite a bit since the Chrono Clash tournament. I've been seeing him favoring the kind of more safe two refinery opener followed by airfield and any source of cheese. It is much safer for the allies, but the cheese is also going to be much less forcing and much less powerful.
Yeah, he actually sells off the airfield as well, so he just has 2 random cryocopters flying around. His infantry is actually losing the engagements here next to his oil derrick. The conscript doing very, very good work de-garrisoning the buildings.
The cryocopters might have been a fake out to prevent GreenAlert from expanding to the 3rd refinery, when he's really not following up with any more economic investments.
Yeah, that was actually kind of genius, going for that cryo and then following it up with a war factory. It is going to be a tier 1 war factory as the MCV repositions, but I love that from Andrey. Not at all a rush, but he does go for this kind of fake pressure. He delayed that expansion by 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes from GreenAlert, and as the result, he's got 2 cryocopters which can help him control the middle of the map, and his expansion timing is coming up at the same time as GreenAlert. This is like the perfect delay from Andrey.
There is actually a certain cheese build where you spam cryocopters along with riptides. It is a very rarely seen one, but it actually does incredibly well with countering even hammer tanks, which can be shrunken down to become vulnerable against riptide fire.
What is a little bit concerning for Andrey here is his armor facility is actually outside of the range of his MCV, so he can't actually build any Guardian tanks if he was intending to do that.
Yeah, he's going to have to rebuild that if he wants it.
Yeah, we are seeing some flak troopers here from GreenAlert trying to chase around the cryocopters, but actually being a little bit slow. So this is actually a nice harassment here from Andrey. Going to be freezing a harvester, perhaps not killing it, but at least freezing it, so it does not do its job.
Cryocopters will be able to skate away from their 3rd refinery up for both players. This harassment has been a little bit awkward, but forcing harvesters off the line for this amount of time is, very similar to killing them in terms of time lost mining.
It's forcing a flak cannon out of GreenAlert as well, which is going to delay GreenAlert's plans after he finishes his taking up to tier 2. He will likely choose airfield in this situation now instead of focusing on the ground in order to have more of an initiative against cryocopters.
Yeah, so actually GreenAlert not making anything out of his war factory, surprisingly enough, despite going for it this time around and not delaying it as much as last game.
This is so interesting that it's an allied ground-focused with a cryocopter opening. We have a couple of riptides heading now to the south side. They are loaded up with some infantry from the barracks. And we'll see if these Cryocopters and Riptides are able to get a win here on Industrial Strength. The MCV once again under threat. The Super Reactor has barely finished. The airfield is halfway done. There's not a lot of hammer tanks out on the field, even potentially, and there's no Twin Blades here yet. The MCV getting dangerously close to being frozen, and the Flak Cannon has not finished. GreenAlert is low on cash, but he is still progressing. Flak Troopers repositioning to the north side of the base. The airfield did finish up as these Riptides engage with those Flaks. The dogs come in, giant bark comes in, massive kill on all of those Flak Troopers. 2, maybe 3 grand of Flak Troopers just disappearing there. Cryocopters repositioning. Kind of an awkward engagement now, and the Cryo Shot is going to be coming in, but the Harvester will dodge it. Where does this attack even go from here?
Yeah, I mean, he just has a bunch of Riptides.
The presence of Cryocopter is preventing GreenAlerts from being able to build any of the hammer tanks, which would just get shrunken down and shredded by this many Riptides. So the Riptides' sheer firepower will just eventually take down this base, and of course Andrey is looking to transition into IV now, fending against air and also adding DPS to his army.
This is the perfect tier 1 allied war factory build. You've got those 2 Cryocopters, you've got the garage from the middle of the map, giving you those free repairs everywhere on the map. The combo of IFVs and Riptides and Cryocopter is incredibly potent when your opponent is going for this 3 refinery kind of start. There were no Terror Drones at the start of the map, no Sickles, no Bullfrogs, none of that early Soviet harassment stuff that we sometimes see in other matches. The result is GreenAlert is being torn apart here on Industrial Strength. Riptides are going to back up. Hammer tanks are here. He is going to try with the hammer tanks. The Cryocopter's being pushed away by potential Bullfrogs, and it's going to be the MCV as well as the Super Reactor goes up in smoke. The MCV heads to the front line, and it's going to be not crushed, but it will be targeted by all of these Riptides. Bullfrogs are here, hammer tanks as well. Guardian tank trying to close in from the other side, but it's getting locked down by that Terror Drone, and it's going to be Riptides surrounding those hammer tanks, full-sized as they are, and going for the kill. Cryocopter finally goes down. Riptides under threat as that MCV is back up to full size, and it's going to be Riptides chasing around, but Guardian tanks, the cavalry coming from the other side of the map. That MCV got repositioned, and GreenAlert will take his first loss. Boys, we have a series on our hand. The map score is 1-1.
Andrey definitely picking a counter build order here to what GreenAlert did last game. He saw him not go for a War Factory, and he just went for a very anti-infantry heavy strat.
Yep, this is again a known cheese build with Cryo comboed with Riptides, later transitioning into IV. And this kind of build, despite being unpopular, actually shuts down a lot of Soviets' answers against ground. You cannot use Terror Drones to zap and then crash with MCV. You can't really use hammer tanks to counter anything. So it actually worked out incredibly well in Andrey's favor with how GreenAlert was building.
I loved seeing that build. That's not something that I see very often. I don't even know that I remember seeing that in a competitive match at all, and certainly not in the last couple tournaments. So I love seeing that bust out from Andrey, and the fact that it gets him a win and puts him on an even score heading into game number 3. And game 3 takes us to Epicenter Island for our tiebreaker of this best of 11. I mean, this is how their series in Chrono Clash went. One wins and then the other. These two guys are quite evenly matched. Once again, playing blue, playing allies on the left side. This is Andrey. And on the right side, with that game 1 win, looking to restart his streak, this is GreenAlert.
Epicenter Island is a bit more wonky of a community map here. It's not often played competitively. You have this weird city of garrisons in the middle. Soviets do have an advantage over allies with securing garrisons, but of course those garrisons don't exactly hinder allies' turret pushes, and we've seen Andrey pull off a very successful turret push against Zugspitze during the Chrono Clash tournament.
So far, we have seen GreenAlert introduce a pretty wacky barracks build in the first game, which Andrey countered in the second game with his Riptide and Cryocopter build order. So I'm wondering what the players will bring to the table in this game.
Well, it's going to be an airfield following up those double refineries from Andrey, and it's going to be a War Factory first from GreenAlert. GreenAlert deciding to play this one out a little bit more standard Soviets, but it's pretty much no, I won't say 3 macro games, but it's 2 macro games out of 3, and then a macro attempt from GreenAlert in game number 2. It's like very straightforward games all across the board.
Soviets have a very strong hold in the center now. Now, the buildings will basically just provide GreenAlert vision if the Allies try any airfield shenanigans, but of course flak troopers could also later be ported in to prevent aircraft from traveling across the map directly.
We are seeing cryocopters once again, only one though, so it's kind of like more of a delayed cryo rush happening here, not the double cryocopter build that Andrey did last game. GreenAlert, however, is already going for War Factory.
Andrey's actually not walling his airfield. That could be a deadly missed opportunity there, because the massive amounts of conscripts that are already out on the field could easily swoop in and finish off the airfield.
Cryocopter is chasing this terror drone super far into the corner, and the Vindicator is actually going to get the kill there as the Cryocopter turns around in the midfield. This bear in this over at the 3rd scouts in the water for GreenAlert, and he might actually head into the main base if he sees that open airfield. Okay, no, he's not able to get the scout into the main base. But yeah, that open airfield, if GreenAlert knows about it, it almost certainly will become a pressure point for him. 3rd is on the high ground for GreenAlert, and Super Reactor is the follow-up after that 3rd.
Looks like Andrey was for a moment trying to freeze down the buildings in the center just one by one to eventually finish off all of the map control GreenAlert has, but now he has changed his mind, pulling his cryocopters instead to work in conjunction with peacekeepers this time instead of riptides.
And there's not much actually to stop it here from GreenAlert. He is building a barracks here as a last measure to try and stop this here, but it looks like Andrey's actually not going to be going in.
Looks like riptides are actually coming out to accompany the cryocopters. We might be seeing a very similar game this time.
Naval Yard on the low ground to leapfrog to that to that water expansion, and Andrey is going to be going to the high ground. Andrey's still trying to control the middle of the map, but it's going to be difficult versus the Molotovs of the conscripts. Andrey will have to evacuate some of those buildings. And yeah, those first couple of Riptides are making their way onto land. They're going to be paired up with that cryocopter. And Andrey, because of his MCV moving around so much, he has not had a Tier 2 production facility in quite a while. He's just been existing off of his Tier 1 units.
Andrey also getting low power while his MCV is not even ready to build the power plants. Could have been a miscalculation.
Definitely. And yeah, he's just kind of not really using his cryocopter all that much either. Not that GreenAlert is giving him any chances to do so. The 4 Bullfrogs have been able to ward off the aerial threat so far.
Crusher Crane coming up in the main base of GreenAlert, so he will have those repairs open to him. Very, very passive openings from these players. I mean, GreenAlert in that last game wasn't trying a lot of harassment. Andrey did go on the offense, but game number 1 as well, very passive macro-oriented openings from both of these guys. We're 5.5 minutes in almost, and barely anything has happened. They are sort of in lockstep on economy. 4 refineries, oil derrick, very similar economies overall. They're within 1,000 credits of total resources gathered of each other.
GreenAlert is transitioning into airfield now, which will combo really well with the number of Bullfrog he already has, and that's looking to be the start of GreenAlert's aggression right here. But curiously, the airfield was not really placed next to the Crusher Crane for repairs. Instead, it's next to a war factory, so that a Cryogeddon could even just shut down all of GreenAlert's production altogether.
And we see GreenAlert moving in with his Bullfrogs. Finally, he's taking a step out of his base. Nice sap on the Terror Drone there. He locks down the AFE and is able to kill the Hammer Tanks, but the Shrink comes in as well, and a Guardian Tank comes out, chases away the Hammer Tanks.
Vindicator goes down. Hammer Tanks up to the high ground, and one advantage of them being shrunk down is that The multi-gunner turret is not able to target them very quickly. However, 3 cryocopters will freeze them easily, and that's now 2 hammer tanks down, traded for 1 Vindicator. Suddenly, this is turning into a bad attack for the Soviet player. He's going to try and break that multi-gunner turret with satellites, so he will get a little bit of damage done back. But at the same time, GreenAlert will be taking a 5th refinery. He is hoping to actually overcome Andrey in total economy. We'll see if he's able to stop this push as it comes towards his base.
Here you can see how controlling cryocopters are. Even when they're not being used as a win condition to basically shut down all of your economies, just the mere presence of cryocopters can prevent your opponent from being able to push in instantly or even expand.
Where are the IFVs? They're nowhere near the MiGs. Get the kill on every single cryocopter. 1 Guardian will get crushed by the MCV trying to exit, and at the same time, a couple of Akulas are trying to come in to harass that expansion over on the left side of the map. There's a lot of Riptides here to shut down the Akulas. The second Akula coming over for that Ultra Torpedo might be able to do some extra damage, but he really needs something extra to shut down this refinery. Those cryocopters got sliced and diced by the MiGs.
And the MiGs probably caught Andrey off guard. I don't think he's ever gotten vision on the airfield yet, and the FV were just not ready for it.
Yeah, the MiGs did definitely do a lot of damage there. 3 cryocopters down is a big hole for GreenAlert, but he has lost a lot of units before as well. I mean, he lost a Bullfrog, already 2 Terror drones, and both hammer tanks initially in the initial engagement. So it's definitely not a overall good trade for GreenAlert.
GreenAlert still trying to keep up the pressure with these Akula subs on the south side of the map. He's got 5 refineries, but this is against an allied player who's had 4 refineries and an oil derrick for a decent set of the game. He's up to tier 3. He's pumping out Athena cannons, so the army already exists. If you shut down the economy, you also have to deal with the army that Andrey has already built.
The 3 twin blades though swinging around, being a looming threat, and Andrey actually has not gotten vision on the top side of the map at all, so the twin blades are actually going to catch him off guard. With him not having a mobile answer for anti-air, not having any Apollos, twin blades are actually simply going to tear down most of his refineries.
1 Harvester goes down here. IFV he's here for Andrey as well to try and chase the twin blades away, and does so successfully. But the damage has already been dealt, and that's 1 Harvester down, and a power plant taking damage as well now for Andrey. And I'm really surprised he hasn't made any Apollos thus far. I mean, 3 games in, and I don't think we've seen a single Apollo.
Twin Blade's going to be skating off. Those cryocopters, they were completely exposed and by themselves in the middle of the map. If GreenAlert had known about that, maybe he would have been able to reroute the MiGs and go for the kill on those cryos. There is 1 Apollo out on the map, but yeah, 3 games, 1 Apollo is not typical for what we expect from allied play. This is definitely not the typical unit compositions that we've been seeing in recent competitive matches, and I personally am loving it. We got a little bit of everything from both players.
GreenAlert has done a good job pressing, but it was not nearly as much damage as he would have hoped. Now Andrey's tier 3 army is actually knocking at GreenAlert's door. With the cryocopter micros being good enough, the hammer tanks wouldn't really be able to defend against the tier 3 army right there, and Athenas would simply be able to slowly siege away at GreenAlert's economies.
There is only 3 IFVs here for this entire army, and only 1 Apollos. There's actually not that much anti-air here, and GreenAlert is growing his air armada, so this might get very problematic for Andrey if he does not respect the twin blades enough.
This is a bit of an awkward angle to try and step into this engagement. GreenAlert is, instead of fighting it, just going to back off and base trade?
Well, counter base pushes have worked for GreenAlert in the past. I mean, there's no base push here for Andrey, but GreenAlert is moving his MCV already.
There are no IFVs at the base, and this number of twin blades would simply be able to obliterate whatever defenses Andrey could produce right now. It's going to be a base race for sure, and Andrey does not have nearly enough DPS as the army of twin blades.
Okay, so this is not how I expected this game to go, and the MCV has already packed up for GreenAlert. I've lost track of Andrey's MCV. It must be somewhere out on the map in the open, and the bases are getting shuttered. Twin Blades, of course, do give a quick amphibious option. If there's anything out on the water for Andrey, GreenAlert can deal with it very easily. but genuinely, I have no idea where the MCV of Andrey went. Okay, it's actually much closer to danger than I would have expected. MCV being targeted down. This is a lot of Twin Blades over top of that MCV. It will get eliminated, so suddenly Andrey's in a terrible position without an MCV to fall back on. GreenAlert has retreated out to the water, and that's just gonna be is that just game? There's almost no way for Andrey. He does have Riptides. I might be getting ahead of myself here, but this is looking like a win for GreenAlert. Cryocopter's going to be coming in. IFVs are here, but they're in so low numbers that the GG will come out, and the final boss has been defeated. Game number 2 means GreenAlert goes up 2-1.
The choice of going for the base race at the end there by GreenAlert was actually brilliant, because the Twin Blades actually weren't enough to hold back the FVs in combination with Athena's, so he was really not able to defend his own base. But instead of settling for a slow descent of his own base, he actually just pushed in altogether, recognizing that he has the superior DPS, being able to win the base race right there.
Really surprising that Andrey will be losing that last game despite having 2 heroic Athenas in the game. That's really surprising there.
And not often do you see a Soviet player with a higher unit kill to death ratio than an allied player, but it's happened here on Epicenter Island and sends us into game number 4. And welcome to Deep Sea for game number 4. In the north, playing the blue, will we see a cheese? This is Andrey. Like I said during Chrono Clash, I've been loving Andrey's playstyle recently. All of his games, I feel like, have been great. They're great to watch, and they are interesting. But in the south, I've also been loving this guy's play. This is GreenAlert. These two are such a great matchup to watch, and with Andrey's current playstyle, okay, yeah, here we do have an airfield first, which kind of feels not typical for Andrey recently, but it is very typical. I feel like these two guys are almost the perfect matchup. They're going back and forth with the score. They're both playing builds that are a little bit unorthodox. They're playing styles that we don't see quite as much. I'm just really enjoying this series.
Deep Sea is not really a vanilla map, but it is a community map that's becoming more and more popular inside the competitive scene. Now, this map does share a lot of features with the map Battle-Based Beta, where contesting for the center is just incredibly important. Here, Soviets of course recognized that and spammed conscripts right away, controlling the center, and will pressure the airfield right away. And with the distance between your third expansion and the center, allies would actually have trouble establishing turrets to basically hold the center as they usually do on Battle-Based Beta.
Unlike the first 3 games, here we're actually seeing a more standard play. I do believe, if not GreenAlert, then at least another Soviet player has done a similar play where you base crawl to your expansion on this map already during the tournament. And yeah, we're just seeing standard airfield with Vindicators trying to counter the double barracks conscript spam from the Soviet player.
Yeah, I believe it was GreenAlert who we saw do this. So yeah, this is a complete repeat, and very well this may have been GreenAlert versus Andrey where we saw that build order. But you're right, fast 3 refineries, once again macro-oriented openers. It's not a cryo rush, it's not a cheese from either player. It is a setup for the mid game, and 1 reactor will be sniped there, but you know, the refinery is already up and running, so sniping 1 reactor is certainly not the end of the world. The MCV is on the move. Andrey, what are you thinking, man? Is this going to turn into a base push from here?
Look at the amount of map awareness GreenAlert has right now. If Andrey actually goes in for the third push, GreenAlert will spot it, but GreenAlert is getting so complacent that he's actually taking to tier 2 right away, sitting on 3 refineries without having a war factory.
We do have a 4th Vindicator out for Andrey, so he'll be hopefully putting that to good use, and we do see a Super Reactor Star tier 2 out for GreenAlert. He's also going for the airfield.
Ooh, 1 Vindicator goes down, 2nd Vindicator gets tagged, but it will be the MCV that is in range of this building. This is sounding a little bit like a story we've already told, but the map was Icebreaker. And in that case, Andrey kept trying to set up refineries in range of buildings that were occupied by flak troopers. And in this case, Andrey does quickly reposition his MCV. He takes maybe 10% damage there and then gets out of the area.
Having your War Factory this delayed for GreenAlert is usually not supposed to be a good idea against the number of Vindicators, but surprisingly GreenAlert has not been too passive right now despite having no Bullfrogs. Once it hits the rocks, the airfield actually gets sniped. No MiGs to contest with the Vindicators. The tides might be turning right now.
Yeah, this is feeling like trouble for GreenAlert.
Andrey doesn't seem to like GreenAlert trying to go into air, seeing as Andrey himself does not have any anti-air units on the map.
War Factory getting tagged by the conscripts of GreenAlert. He does have control of that building. And XYHC, you mentioned the map awareness and the map presence. Yeah, GreenAlert has so much vision almost everywhere on this map.
It's great discipline for Andrey to delay the oil derrick bomb until now, which was what enabled him to spot the airfield earlier and bombing that instead.
Yeah, there's 2 observation towers on this map, but GreenAlert does not even need him. He basically has very good vision regardless on this map on Andrey, so that's a pretty cool thing coming out of him.
MCV out to the water for GreenAlert, going for that expansion. Terror drone and a hammer tank. We did have the build of the War Factory. Instead of rebuilding that airfield, GreenAlert just said, you know what, I'm gonna go War Factory, I'll get my airfield later. And that's going to be the startup of the 4th refinery. Of course, no oil derrick for this Soviet player. And actually, 1 hammer tank going to get jumped on, but he's going to trade it back for 2 Vindicators. That's a trade that the Soviet player is happy with. Although I think maybe he lost 2 hammer tanks. So that's now a little bit more of an even trade between the two. And Andrey goes up to tier 3 while scouting the 3rd refinery, or the 4th refinery out on the water.
Andrey is definitely going to be economically quite behind, so he is likely going to look to seal up the game as soon as he could, because once an MCV is teched up fully, he is not going to be able to easily secure a 4th refinery of his own.
Yeah, he needs to put that tech to good use, and we are seeing the Athena cannon step forward, but so far it's kind of undefended. First Mirage tank does come out, though.
GreenAlert is going to need to break this game up and stop Andrey from just marching down the front and, using that artillery advantage to win the game. Airfield is out, so we have at least that tool in the belt of GreenAlert, but of course no battle lab just yet.
GreenAlert's infantry army is going to be able to hold back any Mirage tank actions for now, and Athena actually got caught out of position right now, gonna forfeit the weapon to one of the hammer tanks right away. GreenAlert is going to be looking really good from this point.
And there's an MCV move on the north side of the map as well.
I wonder if that Athena cannon was a misroute from Andrey. He also does manage to kill a harvester from GreenAlert on the water refinery, though, so that's a big mistake from GreenAlert. You can normally use the armor on the harvester and actually save it.
Hammer tanks repositioning onto the low ground. MCV has been spotted by this Riptide, so suddenly the jig is up. GreenAlert has been ID'd, and Andrey is now going to have a very awkward situation that he has to react to. He's got an MCV potential of a Tesla push from the low ground coming in to his main base, and at the same time, he's going to have this army that he has to deal with on the low ground, and one of them has an Athena cannon.
Almost losing the hammer tank, but the micro was good. Once the hammer tank gathers an artillery weapon, that hammer tank has become one of the most valuable units you can possibly have, as eventually it's even going to be promoted and outrange other artillery units very easily and get you a lot of value.
He might actually even get the refinery.
Oh, he gets the double vet off of the refinery kill. This is kind of a problem.
Yeah, now the Athena cannon numbers are definitely in favor of Andrey, though, despite the double vet hammer tank with Athena cannon on it. GreenAlert does have to retreat now.
Okay, GG gets called. Andrey takes a loss here in game number 4. The combination of the Tesla coil push at the back of his base, which he was not ready for, and the fact that he lost that refinery while already being down on economy. He was going to have to fight that army. That army fight was not necessarily going to go his way, and behind everything, he didn't have much to fall back on.
GreenAlert actually taking a page out of Andrey's book there as well, and base pushing Andrey from the back with his MC. There's a Tesla coil going down in the water, which would have actually denied the refinery in the main base of Andrey there, so quite the funny play from GreenAlert.
And this is actually one of the only games we've seen so far where Andrey did not get cryocopters very early on. In fact, he never got any of them, and you could see that he was really much more passive in this game. He was not able to control his opponent's expansions, not able to control his opponent's unit compositions, and essentially gave GreenAlert freedom to essentially break him down.
That'll do it for game number 4. GreenAlert has begun the win streak. Can he keep it up in game number 5? And game number 5 will take us to Fire Island. This is where GreenAlert can either put himself in an amazing position score-wise, being up 4-1 in a best of 11, or this is where Andrey's fast airfield finally pays off big time.
Double barracks coming down again from GreenAlert. This time, instead of conscripts, however, he is spamming out flak troopers. So this Vindicator that's coming in right now will not be very healthy if it gets a face full of flak right here.
Fire Island is going to be Andrey's pick of map, and that makes sense because it is often considered to be a preposterously allied favorite map where you can easily take routes at the center with your MCV, drop turrets everywhere, or even into the late game you can use cryo guidance to easily hold back any of your opponent's armies due to the narrow routings into your base.
Yeah, this is one of those maps where we got to see a bit of a creative build in the tournament, and I think we're seeing something very similar here right now. This worked out once in Chrono Clash, and it didn't work out once in Chrono Clash for GreenAlert. So he's kind of got a 50-50 in recent games with this extremely aggressive MCV push on Fire Island. 2 Vindicators are going to be spotting this out, and this is just a full parade push across the map.
Fire Island might just be a map where Soviet players don't want to really play a longer game against allies. So with this kind of infantry-heavy push, it really comes down to how well you can target down the allies' multi-gunner turrets that are garrisoned by peacekeepers. Molotovs from the conscripts can actually kill peacekeepers inside of multi-gunner turrets, so it's going to be quite a contest of micro.
Yeah, the army from GreenAlert is actually looking very big, and the first engagement is beginning. Nice build block with a war factory from GreenAlert, and
Huge.
he did lose a conscript there.
Double multi-gunner turret getting blocked off by that. Couple of peacekeepers trying to swing around the side. They are going to get caught out because there are bears here, and bears win versus peacekeepers.
Now the Vindicators are just sitting idle. They could actually eventually bomb down GreenAlert's power plants and set him back majorly, especially since GreenAlert is trying to establish sentry guns of his own at the front line, waiting for the moment to cancel that war factory and start pushing in.
Yeah, sentry guns now starting to fire as multi-gunner turrets start to fire as well. The war factory goes down, and another war factory block comes out. Bears are coming in, but they get barked at by the dogs, and the flak troopers and conscript do manage to take down the turrets from Andrey.
Is this just perfect execution from GreenAlert? Like, he had everything in place perfectly, and he executed it, I think, as good as well as you could have asked. At the same time, there isn't enough to break open this front door. I feel like that was a perfect setup from GreenAlert, but I just don't know that he had enough to really crack open this base.
GreenAlert's army size never really grew this entire time, so maybe he waited for too long for Andrey to have 4 turrets before going in. Even though he managed to block the visions of 2 of the turrets eventually, he should have really just risked it and pushed in earlier and tried to use some base defenses being pre-placed to attract turrets fire.
It seemed really good, but his splash damage there was massive because he kind of build blocked himself a little bit in that position too. And now the Vindicators are finally getting some value in, and the MCV of GreenAlert also gets chased away by a multi-gunner turret.
Okay, so now we're 4.5 minutes in almost, and we have a dual refinery, tier 2 allied player versus a Soviet, and GreenAlert is now going to try and transition into a normal game, I guess. Having the dual oil derrick is certainly nice. That's a nice touch. It's not the same as having 2 refineries, but it is, you know, going to help sustain him. I don't know. I don't know what GreenAlert is hoping to do here.
GreenAlert actually made the correct strategic choices. He saw Cryocopter coming and hence got a Flag Trooper already set up to protect this refinery, although I don't think at this point any good strategies could really save the game for him.
The game for GreenAlert here is definitely kind of all over the place. I mean, Andrey is just going for Cryocopters, and I think that's really all he needs. There's not much anti-air for GreenAlert, and this MCV from him as well is going to start freezing down.
The best choice of a bunch of bad options, and maybe it was just, as you said, he waited too long to break into that base, and once you wait too long, the options are pretty much all bad, so choose the best of the bad options. These power plants getting caught by that by that satellite drop, that feels like a moment that could have been critical if the game had turned out slightly differently. Crusher Crane is coming up. We almost are certainly going to see that MCV go into that Crusher Crane for a last-ditch cash boost.
We're actually seeing 3 Cryocopters, soon to be even more of them. So Andrey is looking to stop the Cryocopter spam now and just play nice and safely, getting more refineries to secure his lead.
Actually, would you happen to know, actually, how many Cryocopters you need to freeze down a flak cannon? Oh, never mind, we have a Cryo Shot. Going down the flak cannon, and there are the Cryocopters going in as well, and low power as well for GreenAlert will spell his doom. Vindicator kills the flak cannon.
Oopsie. And now we got 3 Cryocopters. Very little hope, but a 1-3 map score for GreenAlert means a loss here on Fire Island is actually going to be, you know, he'll still be in the lead. He'll still be 3-2 in terms of total score. Flak Cannon gets frozen, barely gets, I think, 1 shot off, and now the War Factory goes down. Bye-bye, and GG. Bit of an awkward game on Fire Island.
Right, the amount of splash damage Andrey managed to get from those turrets really just demolished GreenAlert's massive infantry army. I would say he waited way too long before pushing in. If GreenAlert had just managed to buy a few seconds to have something attracting the turret fire and then use the Molotovs to clear out the Peacekeepers inside turrets, he would have definitely been able to overrun Andrey's base.
Yeah, perhaps surprising that Andrey did manage to defend that so well, despite the fact that the Vindicators for him were basically AFK for the majority of that game, and that is a 2,400 investment that was basically not doing anything while you were getting base pushed. So that, yeah, very impressive there.
Andrey puts another point on the board, but he needs to continue the comeback in game number 6. And game 6 is on one of my recent favorite maps, but it is also featuring our first change from form, because in the bottom right-hand corner, playing the blue, playing the Empire, this is Andrey. And I mean, on the other side of the map, you guys already know what is going on. It's green. It's GreenAlert. He's playing Soviets. But I love that Andrey has completely switched it up. We have not seen a ton of Empire on this map. We've mostly been seeing allies on this map, and I feel like it has been disproportionately allies versus Soviets. So I'm excited to see what Andrey does here.
Perhaps after getting absolutely destroyed during the event on this map, when he was playing allies, Andrey now decided to switch it up and perhaps give GreenAlert a bit more of a fight while playing Empire.
Icebreaker is a map we've seen a lot of during the Chrono Clash tournaments. We don't normally play on this map at all, but it has turned out to be incredibly Soviets favored, where allies essentially don't stand a chance against all of those conscripts in securing the center and would be forced to spread their refineries all the way across the map vertically, which is hardly desirable against Twin Blades. Hence, Andrey is really wanting to avoid the allies versus Soviets matchup on this map here by just switching to a offhand faction. We'll see whether that decision pays off.
I love the mid-show match adjustment for, I assume, just one map. Maybe he will play Empire a little bit more, but I assume it is just for this map. And I don't know, courage might be too strong of a word, but the confidence, maybe, of switching up your faction. I love that. War Factory coming in. Tengu's going for a bit of harass from our Empire player, and always appreciate the Tengu harass. As the Soviet player, it can be very difficult to deal with. A Soviet player who went for infantry in the middle of the map, who doesn't have sickles, who doesn't have terror drones, and only just now has finished up his War Factory.
Andrey actually barely even contested for the center at all, just was unwilling to even invest any money into those warriors, so that the conscript investment for GreenAlert has been almost a complete waste. Andrey instead was just focusing on rushing out War Factory, getting Tengus, harassing all the refineries simultaneously. Even though he's losing Tengus, he's getting a lot of harvester kills.
Yeah, he's actually got a kill on the third harvester. I completely missed that there was that third refinery being harassed at the exact same time, so it was a triple refinery harass. And yeah, a couple of Tengus are going down here, but ultimately, this is a lot of damage done to the economy of GreenAlert. It is crashing into the ground.
I mean, he basically has almost no eco left. This is a pretty big mistake from GreenAlert, I think, starting off without a War Factory first. Normally, you want to go for a War Factory as Sybert versus Empire and try and secure hammer tank production as fast as possible.
GreenAlert was just not ready to adjust to Andrey's adjustment of faction here. He's playing this map as if he was playing against allies, as he normally would, fighting against the center, but against Empire, such an aggressive conscript build would have to transition into a cheese, otherwise it's simply not going to hold against Tengus.
And now 3 refineries, every single one of them empty. GreenAlert with about 1,000, not even. He's got an oil derrick and like $100 in the bank.
What a terrible position for GreenAlert here. I mean, he's basically just waiting on his harvester, and now the oil derrick will be getting taken out slowly but surely by the Tengus as well.
I mean, he hasn't left, but this is a bop.
Normally with Soviets here, you would really want to be going aggressively with all of your conscripts comboed with terror drones inside the Empire's base, so that they cannot afford to move their Tengus odds. Otherwise, the number of conscripts like that will just be the end. It cannot hold back Tengu harassment.
Despite Andrey not being an Empire player, so far Empire has been working out amazingly for him against GreenAlert. He seemingly just has no counter to it.
GreenAlert's also low power, so everything that he does while his MCV is packed up is going to take longer.
Well, there's one harvester running, but looks like Andrey is just building more Tengus, not even looking to take up, but Andrey did get a third refinery up as well, so it's his game in the bag.
Yeah, this is a disaster for GreenAlert, and I don't see any way for him to turn it around.
He could even just suicide the Tengus right onto the harvester. Even with armor, I think they should be able to kill it off, and that's the only income that GreenAlert really is going to get.
Yeah, as long as he denies GreenAlert's only harvester, no matter how many Tengus he throws away, he will just control the entire match.
There are now 2 harvesters out on the map, guys, so hope springs eternal.
Which is also harder to defend.
Yeah, against a 3 refinery oil derrick Empire Tengu spammer with an MCV. So we're going to have point defense drones coming up in like 1 minute.
I mean, I don't think the point defense really matter here, to be honest. Like, he could just throw Tengus out. He could literally kill his own Tengus above the enemy harvesters, and that would still probably win him the game.
And the GG comes out. Okay, there we go. Andrey evens up the score with a very aggressive Tengu build, busts out Empire for 1 game, and gets a win.
GreenAlert was just almost acting like he was not aware of his opponent's faction switch, so we don't really know whether Andrey is that proficient with Empire, but with the major advantage he has with the matchups between the 2 players' builds, with GreenAlert basically having nothing against Tengus, Andrey will just get a very easy victory right there.
In that game, it really just looked like GreenAlert almost didn't notice the faction switch from Andrey. Like, he really just played it like allies, like XYG has said.
And that'll send us into game number 7, but now with an even map score. And we're here on Liberation Freeze, or Sea Gardens if you're using the BattleNet version of the map. Andrey has finally evened the map score back up against GreenAlert. We started this series out with a 1-1 map score, and then it looked like GreenAlert was going to become dominant. However, in Deliberation Freeze, Andrey has reset everything.
It would be interesting to see if GreenAlert can actually dominate the naval gameplay on this map like he did in basically all the other games, and he has won the game on Infinity Isle and Epicenter Island partly because of his naval domination.
Liberation Freeze is a bit similar to Infinity
Oh,
Isle.
he's gonna get the engineer!
Well, yeah, as I was saying, Liberation Freeze is a bit similar to Infinity Isle in that there's a raid right in the center, giving air units quite an advantage, being able to bypass that center obstacle. But Andrey is actually not going for air just yet, instead going for quite a ground-focused play here, and it's actually kind of catching GreenAlert by surprise.
Andrey kind of like the crazy cat lady, but with dogs over here sniping the engineer of GreenAlert.
Dogs will of course trade at a more favorable rate against bears because of dogs' lower price.
So, Oil Derrick captured by the Allied player and not the Soviet player. This is one of those things where some of the hardcore competitive players will say that an Oil Derrick engineer kill like that loses you the game. Like, according to some people, Andrey just wins the game purely because he got that Oil Derrick engineer kill. It is definitely a huge disruption. Minus 500 credits for building the engineer, and then you're also missing the cash boost from capturing the Oil Derrick and the cash infusion slowly over time from capturing that Oil Derrick. So it is a bit of a disruption to the early game of GreenAlert. We'll see how he is able to react to it. For the current moment, he is blocking the third refinery of Andrey for as long as possible.
Well, it looks like the previous two games have thrown GreenAlert a bit off. Right now, we're actually seeing him going for a very standard kind of build instead of mass flag troopers against air or something like that. Instead, we're seeing bullfrogs against vindicators, very, very standard from Soviets.
Yeah, perhaps things are kind of getting a little out of hand in the past handful of games here for GreenAlert. So he is trying to bring a bit of peace onto this land here with a bit more of a standard Soviet build order.
Ore refinery comes up on the high ground. We cross the 3-minute mark, and it is a case of everything looking normal now. If you tuned into this game 3 minutes in, you would sort of be like, okay, I think nothing has happened, and you wouldn't know the rocky start that GreenAlert has had. I was hoping to get to talk about assault destroyers as Andrey deploys his naval yard next to his refinery, because we saw this from him in another game in Chrono Clash, but his MCV packs up immediately, and it looks like Andrey is going for a pretty quick 4 refineries.
GreenAlert has made several mistakes here that set him back economically, with losing the first engineer as well as failing to pause his flak cannon early on, so now he's down quite a bit of credits.
Yeah, you had to sell that off.
Vindicators are moving in here for Andrey, but the Bullfrogs are here for GreenAlert as well. Ooh, never mind. Bullfrogs back off, and the Vindicators go in for a swing. 1 Vindicator, 2 Vindicators. Oh, actually, only 1 Vindicator go down. No, the second one does follow up for 2 Bullfrogs. So actually a very good trade for GreenAlert.
There was a micro you could do there to preserve all the Vindicators, but Andrey never microed any of the Vindicators back at all.
Riptide is frozen in place, so this hammer tank will be able to slowly kill that off. But that was a case where GreenAlert literally had nothing to stop that Riptide, and well, in terms of killing it, and so he just had to freeze it in place with that terror drone. Vindicators coming back in. They're going to notice that the MCV is a little bit absent from the right side of the map because it's turret push time, baby. I don't know what GreenAlert is thinking, but he is going to be going for a refinery block, a barracks, and I don't know, maybe a Tesla coil?
This is the second time that GreenAlert actually went for a base push against Andrey in this series, and Andrey hasn't done one yet, which is normally what the strategy that he's most well known for, so this is actually really weird.
Well, seeing that Andrey has no refineries there, GreenAlert had to basically block the refineries and move down hills into Andrey's main base, hoping to drop Tesla coils there. But with this many Vindicators around, it might be very difficult for GreenAlert.
I guess we're going to see how game number 7 turns out, because this is an awkward one from beginning to end. Riptide does get crushed here. Riptide's going to be able to tag these Bullfrogs. One Bullfrog will be eliminated. Hammer Tank going to try and trade that kill back. There's a slow push of Hammer Tanks across the map, but the Vindicators have killed the MCV, so this Soviet push is now gutted, as GreenAlert needs to make this work right here, right now, with everything that he's got.
There's currently nothing to contend with the Hammer Tanks, with Bullfrogs camping the airfield as well, so basically Andrey has to trade away Vindicators with Hammers in order to survive for longer and buy time for Javelins.
Yeah, Crash Shot comes out. It does miss, however, and the Javelins are a little bit late to the party. All the Vindicators are now dead, and GreenAlert might actually be somewhat happy about this even.
If GreenAlert finds the perfect angle on this engagement, he can definitely still take this, but we have seen Javs clean up Hammer Tanks in the past. If the body block comes in at the right way, it could be Javs demolishing these Hammers. It's low power mode, and the Riptides are now gone, which means the Hammers are going to move in for the crush, and this is not what Andrey wanted. He needed a way to keep those Javs alive, and he has not been able to do it over at the natural expansion. It's just a multi-gunner turret going ham as the main base of Andrey falls to the pounding of the Hammers. Bye-bye to that Vindicator.
2 heroic Hammer Tanks.
Andrey is still trying to hold on with more Javelins, but unless he pulls up something very drastic, his base is basically going to fall. Javelins are no match against Hammers due to the ability of Hammers to crash. Now, Andrey's trying to get multi-gunner turrets as well, but dropping them right in front of Hammers is not the way to do it.
2 heroic Hammer Tanks, really the MVPs of this game, and this will close out game number 7 in favor of GreenAlert.
Yep, the map score once again swings into favor of GreenAlert, and Andrey switches back to allies, loses. I don't want to say that there's a pattern there, because obviously there's not. Andrey is very good with allies, and he had a great start into that game, but XYHC, you were right. Once GreenAlert was in Andrey's base with that combo of Hammer Tanks and Bullfrogs, Andrey was not in position to be able to deal with that, and then GreenAlert was actually able to get that snowball rolling, and it just never stopped.
At the very end there, Andrey actually gave GreenAlert the tool that he needed to kill the Javelins. He gave him the Riptide gun for his Hammer Tanks that GreenAlert proceeded to steal. And he had 2 heroic Hammer Tanks with an anti-infantry weapon on them from Andrey's Riptides, which basically sealed the deal there.
Andrey perhaps should have teched up quite a bit to match GreenAlert's tech, because Cryocopters would have been able to shrink Hammer Tanks to prevent them from being able to simply run over Javelins, since Javelins really were Andrey's main firepower back then.
Game 7 has been decided in favor of GreenAlert, but Game 8 is where Andrey can put another point on the board. Game 8 is on the burning crash landing zone of Mers Landing, one of these uprising maps that has been retrofitted to work in Red Alert 3. And of course, GreenAlert, he's going to be feeling good after that win in game number 7. And Andrey says, my response is going to be a fast airfield.
Once again, we see a fast airfield from Andrey, and only 1 barracks from GreenAlert. He is going to be going for a war factory, so a more of a standard play once again from him.
Mers Landing is a bit of a featureless map. Because originally in Uprising it was designed for satellites to drop all over the center, there's really nothing in the center for you to contest. No garrisons, no oils, everything is secured on your own side of the map. Hence both players going for less aggressive styles, airfields from Andrey, whereas GreenAlert is not really building much infantry either. So the game is going to swing into later on, with the main gameplay being to harass your opponent's back rank refineries.
Now, in this case, the bomb splits were quite nice from Andrey right out of the beginning, getting the kill on those conscripts, and he also gets the perfect scout, but the follow-up is going to be tier 2 from Andrey. This is not a super fast cryo rush or anything. He did get both refineries, he did go for that initial scout, but it will be cryocopters pretty early in this game. The flak has already been sold off or canceled on the GreenAlert side of the map, so he's just got those bullfrogs.
Thankfully, no, there are bullfrogs, as you said, out on the field here for GreenAlert, so he does not have to chase around the cryocopters who have just flak troopers, which are very, very slow.
GreenAlert also picking a very safe expansion spot with the MCV as well, so the bullfrogs will actually be able to prevent cryocopters from doing much harassment despite their lack of mobility.
And it's going to be a naval yard as the choice for Andrey. I love this if he goes assault destroyers, because it's just another piece of tech that we haven't really seen in this show match. GreenAlert is bringing a little bit of aggression here. It's only 3 conscripts, so this is not enough conscripts to really Molotov down buildings quickly. I'm curious as to what Andrey is going to do about this. It'll be a Riptide first out of that naval yard. On the other side of the map, one harvester has been killed off by a cryocopter, and the second harvester is under threat, and there is only one bullfrog nearby to do anything about it. So this trade is going to be very favorable to Andrey. He's going to be feeling good. A little bit of cash back there by GreenAlert. He is going to be comfortable with, getting at least a little bit of cash back and getting the Vindicator kill. A little bit of a trade back on that exchange.
Andrey got a bit greedy there, tried to get the Vindicator to bomb down the Shrunken Bullfrogs, but Shrunken Bullfrogs have enough speed to dodge Vindicator bombs, hence no kills occurred there, but the Vindicator actually gave away its life for free.
Yeah, but this is huge for Andrey overall. He's now going to be pushing forward with the Riptides, and he has gotten 2 Harvester kills, which is amazing. I mean, he basically lost 1 Vindicator for 2 Harvesters. Now the String MC comes out, the Terror Drone does stun the Riptide, but the MCV is unable to crush it as it was shrunken down.
I just realized there is no super reactor. I thought GreenAlert had gotten a super reactor at some point in the past, but he actually hasn't. So he is going to try and restart his 3rd refinery. He had that MCV move, it got shrunk down, and now he has to hold off this attack. And his choice is, I just need more eco.
Well, Andrey's not playing particularly aggressive right now. As you mentioned earlier, a assault destroyer would actually have been a great choice, but right now Andrey only has a couple Riptides to try to pester the Soviets a little bit while he's trying to secure his own economic lead.
Yeah, and the Riptides just inching on forward towards the Terror Drum. They won't be able to do any real damage, but they do kill the Terror Drone there, which is pretty big. And the Cryocopter is actually coming in here, and Bullfrogs have been chased away by the Riptide, so this Harvester will be getting frozen. Perhaps not killed, though.
Bullfrogs trying to reposition. Riptide's going to be contesting with that sickle. Such an awkward set of exchanges here from both players. They're desperately trying to find that little edge of an advantage. In theory, if everything could calm down, GreenAlert could be fine with his 3 refineries and an oil derrick with his cash backs, but Andrey is not going to let things calm down easily. He brings the Cryocopter back in. The Vindicator is packaged along with it in this instance, and the Riptide does go down, but those Bullfrogs were so far away that they are barely going to touch that Vindicator before it escapes. This is a disaster of an economy start from GreenAlert.
Riptides, even though the Riptides gave away their own lives, they had accomplished their jobs of holding back the Bullfrogs, so that Cryocopter actually managed to find an opening to finish another Harvester. That's going to be a very solid lead for Andrey right now.
Sickles are going to try and go on a little bit of harassment here. I don't know that it's going to accomplish much.
Yeah, it's kind of free Sickles here from GreenAlert. I mean, the cash bounties from him were actually really good this game so far, but he also lost 3 Harvesters, whereas Andrey lost none.
3 Cryocopters near the middle of the map. They get pushed away by those Bullfrogs. Terror Drone as well. It's going to be a sentry gun to try and help hold down the middle of the map. Super reactor is done, so hammer tanks and the potential of airfield is on the horizon. but the push is coming across the map. Andrey believes in the power of the Riptide Cryocopter. It's the same combo we saw on Industrial Strength, and it's going to work here with the Cryo Shot leading the charge. GreenAlert has had some difficult moments in this game, and it looks like it's going to be continuing as he has got a push that is extremely difficult to stop. Airfield will finish up eventually, but that is 3 Cryocopters freezing down an MCV. Hope is looking bleak.
Andrey has been relying very heavily on cryocopters. You can see that he was not expanding or building any infrastructures of his own, instead spending all of his economic lead into cryo, and it's been paying off quite well so far. Riptides have done a great job keeping all of their bullfrogs out of the combat and eventually finishing them off even, and now Andrey just has a major air army without anything from GreenAlert to contest it.
The Shrinks are going to come in, and it is a tough spot for GreenAlert.
No anti-air from GreenAlert here. I mean, he has a 1 MiG that is on red health here, but an Apollo comes in and snipes that off, so GreenAlert basically has no way of contesting this army from
GG.
Andrey.
The turnaround, game number 8, evens the score once again. These two trade back map points almost completely evenly.
What was surprising there in that game is actually GreenAlert never really got any units to deal real damage. He had a few conscripts, he was trying to build a sentry gun, and he did make 2 sickles, but outside of that, he basically had absolutely zero ability to even deal damage to that game.
GreenAlert's bullfrogs were really passive for the whole game, constantly being held back by Riptides, whereas GreenAlert just had no defense against those Riptides. And Andrey really made a great choice by investing into cryocopters instead of trying to let the game drag on at all. Once he had the economic lead, he secured it using cryo to end the game in combination with the army he already had.
It's a tough fight. Andrey puts another point on the board and sends us into game number 9, once again without a lead for either player. Game 9, another tiebreaker in this best of 11 series, will once again feature a switch up from Andrey. In the north, it's GreenAlert playing Soviets. You guys know that. That's what we're expecting. And in the south, here on Battlebase Beta, it's Andrey playing Empire once again. He's returning to Empire, which we saw on Icebreaker. It was a very aggressive Tengu game, and now he's going for it here, rather than playing AVS on Battlebase Beta.
Yeah, Andrey kind of normally an allied main, but I'm quite surprised that he's going to go for an Empire a second time, and this time it's not Icebreaker. So
some people would argue that Battlebase Beta actually favors allies quite a bit, but the faction that it favors the most is almost undebatably the Empire. Hence, Andrey going for a switch here, hoping to throw his opponent off.
And I think this would be the first time that Andrey, if he gets the win here, that Andrey has a map score advantage over GreenAlert in this series. It's been a long series, and I'm very glad that it was not a 6-0 right from the beginning. That would have been a terrible rematch after all of the incredible games that we had in Chrono Clash. But it is going to be a very late series as we get towards the final couple of games. One match will put one of these players at that match point situation. They'll be one win away from the series being theirs.
But this is going pretty terribly for the Empire player here, Andrey. Like, he already lost a few Imperial Warriors to a bear. He had zero control over the middle map either, and he's basically lost all of his dojo cores as well.
Andrey did open with 4 dojos in a very odd fashion where he got power plant first, so you could already tell that Empire was not necessarily his main faction. And with 4 dojos there, Empire would usually be fighting very heavily against the middle, whereas Andrey never really put up much of a fight and is instead transitioning into Tengu right now.
Tengu going to cross the map as those conscripts tear down that oil derrick. Tengus will be able to transform, go for those bears, and this has, of course, been spotted by GreenAlert. He's got the terror drone here as well. He is going to be able to dodge away from those Tengus. It does mean that with the 3 Tengus now out on the field, Andrey has a little bit of mobility, but actually he's going to be losing one to the crush of that MCV. not able to save it.
Messing up the Tengu transforms a little bit as well, so clearly Andrey is not necessarily proficient with Empire, and the Tengus are actually going to be kind of wasted because GreenAlert already has set up a sentry gun in his base, so no harassments will happen there. Normally by this point Empire would be trying to expand in order to capitalize on the Soviets turtling, or at least match the Soviets' economies, but right now Soviets already have a third refinery. Andrey has not been taking up or building anything. He is going to be quite behind now.
And you'd usually want tier 2 as the Empire player as well. I mean, you kind of want your tsunami tanks and infantry composition against Soviets, like in almost every single game.
I do also appreciate that GreenAlert has once again gone for map presence and map awareness. We saw on Icebreaker a lot of Tengu moves coming out from Andrey, and we're seeing that again here at the beginning. So having that map presence, that map awareness, the bear at the water expansion, the conscripts in the building at the high ground expansion, it gives GreenAlert pretty much all of the information that he needs. But of course, information doesn't actually mean that you can counter it. Super Reactor coming up. Hammer tanks will be available very soon, but this War Factory is already taking damage from these Tengus.
Andrey tries to build a third refinery there instead of opting for tier 2 tech up, but the bear is actually there to block it, so the refinery is going to take a very forward spot and get infected.
This refinery needs to turn around. This bear is going for the block. Tengu's going to drop in. It gets the terror drone. That was incredibly close to disaster for Andrey.
Very lucky for Andrey here, not losing the refinery core. Those are usually very vulnerable, and that's the reason why you would want to move your MCV. But there's actually an MCV cell coming out from Andrey. This is an all-in from him.
That means no point defense drones in 1 minute. That would be a huge potential armor buff for these Tengus, but they will never have that.
With 3 refineries established, Empire is indeed very comfortable with selling MCV and pushing in with purely tsunami tanks. However, against Soviets, having all of those wonderful land options such as terror drones and hammer tanks, Empire usually isn't willing to do this kind of risky move, especially not without point defense drones. Normally, Empire would have held us a bit longer to put extra armor onto their tsunamis, but perhaps Andrew was just unfamiliar with the MCV cell build and how it works.
Yeah, there's no tier 2.
One hammer tank gets popped there by the tank busters, and the MCV going to be taking a little bit of damage. It will be a solid defense from Andrey, or from GreenAlert, and Andrey, I think, is just going to have to wait a couple of moments until more reinforcements arrive.
The dojo is dead now, so there's no infantry anymore for Andrey, and he's not even getting tier 2, only now queuing up tier 2 on his mecha bay. So he's really stuck to Tengus for the majority of this game, and that's not really something you want to be doing if you're up against Soviets as the Empire.
Looks like GreenAlert is also getting some Akulas to destroy Andrey's water refinery for good without an MCV to rebuild that, or being able to even build anything to respond to Akulas. Andrey's just going to basically be behind for the entire game.
Oh, Andrey. He loads up his engineer into a sudden transport, and he was doing a great job of skirting the edge of the map, and then he runs it over land. He takes the shorter route, and he runs it right past the scout buildings of GreenAlert, and now the terror drone will get the stop on that sudden transport. He will get the infect, as there is an engagement happening elsewhere. Tengus harass a harvester and kill off some flag troopers at the high ground expansion of GreenAlert. A bit of a missed opportunity there for Andrey, and I guess he'll pay the price as the game goes on.
Andrew's going for the only move that could potentially win him the game right now, which is building purely VXs and holding them back in your base, hoping to catch your opponent off guard when you have a critical mass of VXs and your opponent has no anti-air response. So that has actually turned quite a lot of games around. We'll see whether that happens for Andrey here.
Yeah, I mean, there are already three bullfrogs out on the map for GreenAlert, so he is prepared for VXs, at least a number of them, and the nail refinery does get cleaned up as well by GreenAlert.
Scout comes in, sees pretty much everything. Tengus are going to be going for the forward position here as the satellites drop on the power plant back in Andrey's base. 1 striker down, 2 VXs down, 3 get eliminated, 4 go into the ground. Number 5 will meet his maker, and it's GreenAlert who gets the win in game number 8. He gets the point advantage, and it is now match point for GreenAlert.
The tables have turned from the first game where Andrey has played Empire against GreenAlert, where GreenAlert did not seem to have a really clue how to counter Empire. Now this time around, it seems like Andrey was the one who had no clue how to play against Sybert, which is a little bit on the odd side.
Andrey's switch to Empire definitely was a questionable choice. He seemed pretty uncomfortable with the faction overall and made a lot of rather questionable strategic decisions, especially with the delay of tier 2 and not being able to expand to match his opponent's income rate.
And that'll send us into game number 10, with GreenAlert being one step away from the ultimate win. Welcome, for perhaps the first time ever, to Misty Abyss. A big map for game number 9 of GreenAlert versus Andrey. And if you were wondering, no, this is not going to be an Empire performance from Andrey. Despite how big this map is, he is choosing to go with allies.
And I'm wondering if Andrey will decide to actually do the turret push finally one time in all of this, in this entire series, despite that being his main strategy almost outside of tournament play at the very least. He is, however, on, of course, the brink of destruction here, as GreenAlert, if he wins this game, will, of course, win the series.
Misty Abyss is indeed a very curious map here. You have the oil derricks in the center being very close to each other. It's a long way from either player's spaces, so the contest for that is going to be very difficult for engineers. There's a lot of potential for getting snipes. Plus, there are actually no expansions near your own base, so in order to get your economy up and running, you will have to move your MCV quite a distance to either the center or the bottom here. The bottom water refineries could be a very nice spot where the allies could secure that, get a very powerful position ready to turret push in at any moment, whereas the center is where most of the actions will be, as it seems. A lot of infantries are here to contest the garrisons. Whoever gets the center will actually have a very powerful economic position as well.
Oil derricks finally will be captured. One of the longest walks, if you're not Empire, to get your oil derrick. Obviously, if you're Empire, you just throw a couple of dojos out onto the map, and that's your whole game. But in this case, it is going to be oil derrick captures into a naval yard with Jav Riptides from Andrey, and he is going to try and move along the southern side of this map. He is bringing the fight to GreenAlert, but GreenAlert has a couple of stingrays and a lot of bears to scout this out.
It appears Andrey is going to fight for the bottom refineries there, trying to establish something, but stingrays being already there in position to stop that, Andrey is really having to retreat, and he currently does not have any counters to stingrays. Normally it would be vindicators, but right now you can't set up an airfield right in front of stingrays without suffering some losses.
Andrey will take control of both oil derricks, though, so he will at least have that going for him. The stingrays are now arriving, though, and Andrey is kind of having his MCV stuck in the water, all alone.
Stingrays are very powerful units, even though they're unviable competitively. They are stats-wise superior to all Tier 1 units. No Tier 1 armies could really stand against Stingrays. Otherwise, you have hard counters like main battle tanks or aircrafts against Stingrays, but Andrey really is in no position of building either. And if the body blocks are good, the MCV is never going to get out of this.
This MCV is extremely low on health. The overcharge comes in, cleans up a couple of those Riptides. It's going to be a hydrofoil to lock down these Stingrays, and that is like a reverse heist here. I feel like the MCV just heisted its own life away from the Stingrays. That was extremely close to total destruction. Javs inside of the building also playing a bit of a part here, and yeah, that oil derrick steal from Andrey actually is going to be the only real benefit for him in this game.
Andrey is quite far behind right now. His opponent is sitting on a ore refinery here in the water, ready to push in with stingrays as well, having an army and economic lead. The oil derricks will be the only thing that Andrey is holding, but of course Soviets could easily take over the mid-ground with conscripts clearing garrisons and hence fight back for the oil derricks. So for now, Riptides are actually going to swing that direction to prevent that.
Riptides will be trying to make something happen here for Andrey as he's closing in on the water expansion of GreenAlert. But yeah, he actually does go dive for the Harvester. Harvester doesn't actually utilize its armor, but here come the Stingrays. And Riptides don't stand much of a chance here in the water against those beasts as 2 Riptides go down.
The War Factory is coming up on land. Overcharge is a complete miss there, and that's a hydrofoil weapons jamming a Harvester, which is not something you see very often. On the other side of the map, Andrey does finally have his 3rd refinery up and running. It feels like he is stabilized. He had to use an engineer to heal up his MCV, but that's okay, considering how close his MCV was to death. We have rarely seen Stingrays play such a role in a match, but here they have been extremely important. And one thing that we haven't really mentioned is this is a weirdo map, so these guys likely have 0 or single-digit number of games on this map. It is not something they're going to be familiar with.
Andrey made a very questionable decision there by actually just establishing the refinery where his MCV was. It was a tempting choice because he was already behind, but with the refinery being that forward and that close to GreenAlert's water base, there's just gonna be ceaseless Stingray harassments followed by a Kula sub soon after because GreenAlert is on tier 2, so the water refinery is really not gonna stand for long.
Now, there's really not much on the land here for GreenAlert, so he will actually be forced to retreat with his MCV, and Andrey might actually be taking his 4th refinery with both oil derricks before GreenAlert takes his 4th.
Stingray is getting close to land. They're taking down that barracks, and GreenAlert, he will now have to contend with a 3 refinery allied player. Even though he's killed a refinery, Andrey has rebuilt it on land. Satellites coming in, they will force the sell-off of that power plant, so goodbye to the power plant. Andrey has kept along his naval yard this entire time. That's sort of the only thing really anchoring him in this game.
Andrey does have a favorable position right now, securing the center, even though he has nothing for water. Right now, Soviet's naval really isn't much of a threat against Allied main base right there. However, Stingrays going in right onto land could be a problem if Vindicators are not yet around.
Yeah. Tier 2 is up for Andrey, so we might be seeing some Cryocopters, but Tier 3 is actually on its way for GreenAlert.
Wow, straight to the battle lab for GreenAlert. He did go up to the high ground a minute ago with his MCV, but he didn't actually establish the expansion. So this is a 3 refinery Tier 3. And it's going to be up against Cryocopters, Riptides. We saw this on Industrial Strength. We saw this on another map as well. The Riptide Cryocopter combo, if the Soviets isn't ready for it, can be extremely powerful. Bullfrogs will tag those Cryos a little bit.
Oh, it's going to be difficult for Andrey to break through this line of defense right here. There's actually quite a bit of defender's advantage for each player wherever their base is.
GreenAlert packs up his MCV. He goes on the rampage, and Andrey just sort of backs off. There's going to be the shrink of the MCV, and I guess they're just going to pause for a moment.
GreenAlert was actually building an iron curtain in the back before his MCV had to pack up.
No tier 3 out of GreenAlerts yet, which is curious. You would probably want artilleries to break through any of the strongholds that are currently around.
Right, he went APOC tanks instead.
Oh wow, that's so questionable against this many Cryocopters.
And now Andrey is going to be able to get another expansion here on the high ground, but GreenAlert is actually establishing his own on the water, but he does cancel the ref there, huh?
That's kind of funny. In the face of 4 Cryocopters, it's tough to get up a refinery. GreenAlert now is going to have to contend with these Riptides and the Cryocopters. The Bullfrogs are going to be able to create a little bit of space. The Cryocopters won't be able to engage directly as they would like. And now Andrey will definitely get eyes on that APOC tank. So he knows there's at least one out, but the Shrink Ray is such an excellent tool to completely remove APOC tanks from relevance.
You'd think this is a map where air is very favored, and Andrey is capitalizing on that with now 5 cryocopters, whereas GreenAlert actually never builds any aircrafts, so he never really has the initiative of harassments. He also does not have many MiGs to chase down cryocopters that are just so much more mobile than bullfrogs.
Ooh, orbital drop actually killing a Vindicator along with the barracks, but we do see a spy out of Andrey.
Ooh, that's a good catch. That jab is not actually a jab as Andrey steps forward. An APOC tank could be switching sides. Riptide's going to be pushing forward. That one jab makes his way to the front lines, but he's staying away from the fight as the hammer tanks have been shrunk down. The Riptide's having an easy job when everything is tiny of defending this allied army. And the spy just splits off to the left side as the cryocopters basically make the entire Soviet army useless.
And the spy might actually get 2,000 if it captures the refinery here for Andrey, or he might actually go for the battle lab instead.
Forces the sell-up of the war factory. Are you kidding me? For a spy. However, the spy will get sniped by the conscripts there, and it is a classic chaos game here from the Soviet player. The cryocopters have completely disrupted any plan that he had. Everything has just gone to the dirt as all of his ground army has been frozen down one by one, eliminated, and it's like dreadnoughts or bust for our Soviet player.
GreenAlert is not even looking to defend his base anymore. He's looking to base race with all of those dreadnoughts. Cryocopters are actually not in position to shrink them, and bullfrogs are there to prevent that from happening.
Super reactor blows up, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, the dreadnoughts from GreenAlert, they won't be able to reach the refineries of Andrey in the very middle of the map, so Andrey will be at least on 2 refinery, double oil derrick economy, basically the entire game, which is huge.
This is such a funny combination, late game dreadnoughts plus stingrays. Not something that you see very often in any game, but it's something that we're seeing here on Misty Abyss. It's a base trade, and as you said, that high ground is going to be extremely important for Andrey.
I'm not sure where GreenAlert is planning on going from here, because he can't really finish Andrey off on the high ground. I don't really think with Andrey's massive land presence he can really afford to expand into Andrey's ground base either. And Andrey's actually just sitting securely on 2 Fs on the high ground.
If you would have to try and drop down like a barracks and a war factory on the low ground here to try and maybe get to Andrey on in his now main base, which is the high ground. Andrey kind of winning the King of the Hill, if this was a King of the Hill game, of course.
Wow, body blocking with a super reactor over here at the left side expansion. Cryoblast going to be coming in, and it's going to be the last hope of GreenAlert is to hold off this allied army. For the current moment, that refinery will survive. GreenAlert is desperately just trying to buy time. He needs time to come up with a solution to how to win this game. He needs to figure something out for how do you defeat Andrey from this position.
And it's just so much better in Red Alert 3, where even though naval is good, they cannot cover the entire map. Eventually, as long as you secure all of the superior number of ore nodes on land, which Andrey is definitely doing, you will eventually wear down a naval player.
Cryocopters dodging those satellites, and it's going to be Riptides chasing the bullfrogs around the water. So many cryocopters here for the allied player. That MCV gets frozen, and the shocks come out from those dreadnoughts, but they get friendly fired by their dreadnoughts. Those stingrays, unfortunately, just being wasted by their own team. 2 cryocopters fall, but guess what? There's 7 more still remaining on this game. Iron Curtain is going to get frozen. Riptides will tear this up, and it's up to the dreadnoughts to slowly but surely kill off these Riptides one by one. And GreenAlert, you know, hope springs eternal, but not really out on the water. It just drowns.
Cryocopters have finished off all of GreenAlert's production facility now, so it is going to be the end for him.
GG! The final boss gets his win in game number 10, and it is ace match time. It's a 5-5 map score in a best of 11.
Yeah, it's really good to see that the allied player here is actually respecting the oil derricks. Finally, Andrey is seeing the power in oil derricks, and controlling both of them the entire game definitely gave him a huge eco advantage.
Soviets going for Stingrays was very innovative, and they could have really worked out in GreenAlert's favor earlier on. However, Andrey was able to make the perfect defense to actually save his MCV. It was kind of a miraculous save, but otherwise, the game would have been over very early on.
The game almost collapsing out from under Andrey, but the final result is he gets one last shot, as does GreenAlert in Game 11 of this show match. And Game 11 will take us to Jungle Stalkers, the 4-player map with forced cross spawns in the north, playing the blue, putting 5 points on the board. This is Andrey! And on the bottom right side, playing the green Soviets, also putting 5 points on the board. Give it up for GreenAlert!
Both Andrey and GreenAlert are going to be going for infantry starting off, which is not something we've seen them do every single game. It seems like we see 1 engineer from Andrey and 2 engineers from GreenAlert. He might actually be trying to go for maybe a hospital or even a dry dock.
Jungle Stalkers is a 4-player map, so having this map being a 1v1 finals match location would be very interesting to see. The map designers clearly intended for the center of the map to be the main point of contest, where you have players choosing either side of the refineries and then fight each other at a close quarter combat with a ridge dividing in between, except for one problem, that is allies being able to drop turrets directly into your opponent's base. So GreenAlert is most likely not looking to fight the center if he knows how the map works, and instead he could actually base crawl directly to the back rank of his base to get water refineries very quickly with a single naval yard job.
That would be pretty incredible to see the Naval Yard base crawl to the water expansions. We do have Tier 2 out of our allied player very quickly. Now, there are hospitals, dry docks, and garages on this map, so there is a lot of potential for healing. The hospitals are a little bit in awkward positions. The garages are super central and super easy to secure. Dry docks are pretty easy to grab as well. And, of course, there are 2 oil derricks per player, bringing a little bit of that Kane's Wrath mentality into this map here because it's a 4-player map. However, we do have the first cryocopter out onto the field for Andrey.
It's 2 cryocopters immediately setting airfield. It's possibly some sort of cheese now. GreenAlert has not gotten vision on cryocopters, but he actually preemptively builds 2 flags in his base already.
We might actually see the Riptide cryocopter strategy, the tried and tested method that Andrey has won some of these games, coming back to play in the very last culminating game. Number 11 over here.
It's a bit curious that...
Yeah, one of the results of this map choice style where they ban the maps for the first map and then loser picks after that is it means that when you get down to games, 8, 9, 10, 11, you really are in the maps that people are unfamiliar with, that they have been avoiding for the entirety of this series. 2 cryocopters walking up to the base. They will get tagged immediately by that flak cannon. It's a bit of a tell here from Andrey. Was he intending to reveal the cryocopters like that?
Andrey actually made some really good prediction moves. Maybe the 2 players are skilled enough to really guess each other's moves already. GreenAlert is completely ready for cryocopters without those flags, and Andrey actually just knew there would be a water expansion instead of contesting for the center and got a dolphin right away instead of Riptides.
And now GreenAlert has a pretty big eco advantage. The Dolphin is doing some chip damage. It might even kill off a Bullfrog, but that Dry Dock is doing a great job healing. The Bullfrog will end up going down.
Well, Soviets actually don't get repairs. Oh wow, yeah, there's a Dry Dock, you're right.
Yeah, but now in the front, we have a Riptide and 2 cryocopters with more Riptides coming in as well, sieging the base of GreenAlert, and he doesn't have any units here either. He only has a few infantry squads inside of the buildings, and not much else to defend this.
He went for that greedy play out on the water, and the result is he has nothing on land to deal with this. Couple of stingrays down there on the water, a couple of bullfrogs as well. The barracks now going to be coming up, and there's 2 cryocopters freezing a refinery. Andrey has got a fantastic position here in game number 11. Everything else is forgotten. It all comes down to this one last game, one last chance to win this show match, and it will be a sell-off of that high ground refinery, but it will now still be 3 refineries versus 3 refineries. GreenAlert is actually kind of okay with losing 1 refinery, especially when it's so easy to rebuild that one. Losing 2 refineries, though, that's a problem.
The flak cannon's positions are very suboptimal. GreenAlert might not have been familiar with countering cryocopters the conventional way, where the flak cannon actually has to be a tile higher to prevent cryo from being able to eventually freeze down your refineries.
Yeah, Riptides are doing a bit of damage, but GreenAlert is kind of unable to get any units up here. He's just chilling off in the bottom over here in the water with his stingrays and bullfrogs, and kind of really not able to move his bullfrogs away from his water expansion. Otherwise, he might end up risking losing it to the cryocopters.
On the other side of the map, Andrey goes for a war factory. Killing off that garage, I feel like, is going to be paying bigger and bigger dividends the longer that this game goes on. Andrey also only grabbed 1 of his oil derricks. He did not grab the other one. So while GreenAlert grabbed both of his oil derricks pretty early on, got fast 4 refineries, Andrey has been a little bit slower on that economic uptake. Satellites coming in. They were going to crash into a power plant, but it did get sold off.
GreenAlert once again leaning into a army of stingrays, trying to hold back on defense this time instead of doing any crazy offensive plays, but the number of dolphins here might actually be able to outmicro the stingrays.
Cryocopter gets broken apart, and those bullfrogs find the perfect angle on that cryocopter circling.
Yeah, now the Riptides and Dolphins are left without air support, so they are kind of being a bit timid and not pushing in. Andrey being a bit more reserved with his playstyle. Now his MCV is moving a bit closer to the front line, though.
GreenAlert goes for the crane and then also is going for perhaps another corner double expansion. Instead of creating a 5 refinery pocket right out front of his main base with the naval expansions, he's going for the corner, or he's going around the edge of the map for a base push. Once again, GreenAlert has pretty good map presence and map awareness. He's sent conscripts into a bunch of different buildings. He's got that vision. He knows what's going on.
GreenAlert does not have much in terms of contesting for the ground, so securing all of those water refineries could potentially put him into a more secure position, because right now Andrey definitely has better map control despite not having much infantry around garrison.
Both players will be going for expansions, it seems like, as GreenAlert does get his 4th, or actually 5th and 6th refineries down. He does cancel the 6th one, but he is building the 5th one, and Andrey is already on his 4th himself.
So now we're 7.5 minutes in, and things have stabilized a little bit. It was dicey for GreenAlert early on. He's had to build some additional defenses at home. 2 flak cannons per refinery, plus a Tesla coil. The airfield is really his only production facility in his main base, and for now that's fine because Twin Blades do great against Riptides. Once the IFVs arrive, it will be a bit more of an even fight. Andrey adding on that 5th refinery in the middle of the map puts him in a really comfortable spot as an allied player. You get those 5 refineries, it feels unstoppable.
And with Andrey controlling the ground almost completely, all of those refineries in the center are his to grab. Eventually he will out-eco GreenAlert, despite GreenAlert having devoted all his time to expanding.
This is definitely a flashback to the last game that we have seen between GreenAlert and Andrey, where GreenAlert was basically reduced down to only naval base and naval units. Here, on the other hand, GreenAlert does still have a foothold on the high ground.
Having the air army is indeed good for GreenAlert, but for now he is actually moving his MCV between bases, looking to expand even more instead of getting some more army advantage of any forms.
It almost feels like he needs to go either double war factory or double airfield, excuse me, or he needs to add on a war factory or maybe a second naval yard. I don't know. It feels like GreenAlert is missing a piece of the puzzle here. He is going to finally put a little bit of pressure on the allied player on the other side of the map. He's going to take away one of those refineries, which is nice for GreenAlert. I really want to see GreenAlert kill the garage. Andrey made that a priority, made it a target early on, and I was glad to see that from Andrey. I need to see that now from GreenAlert.
Team plays are doing great amounts of harassments, even though IFVs are there as the answer. This is a big map where aircrafts can quite easily swing around to harass multiple spots at the same time. Andrey is responding to that by building javelins in the center and having IFVs at the main base trying to fend back Twin Blades, but Twin Blades really should just be buying time for GreenAlert to tech up before getting some army to actually retake the ground.
GreenAlert has essentially secured the navy of this on this map now, and he has full control over it, which does have the majority of the refinery expansions. It seems like 8 refineries at the very least are on the naval side of this map. So if GreenAlert takes control over them, he will definitely be a very happy camper with that amount of eco.
Oil derricks finally getting targeted down by GreenAlert. Lots of Riptides, a couple of IFVs as well are here. But of course, out on the water, that's where the Stingrays and the Twin Blades dominate.
Looks like GreenAlert is going for a very daring move by expanding right outside of Andrey's main base.
Oh my
while his other
gosh.
bases are actually being harassed. It might be a bit too much for him to swallow with the defense.
That's pretty amazing. Taking the backdoor expansion away from your opponent.
Yeah, double refinery drop as well. Like, he is just committing everything he has into straight up economy, and he might just be able to win the eco game. I mean, Andrey isn't too far behind. Look at the amount of refineries he has in the middle of the map now.
So with the oil derricks getting killed off, with Andrey losing that refinery, and with the faster expansions coming out from GreenAlert, he is up 10k per minute compared to the 7.5k of Andrey. Every minute that goes by, GreenAlert has that 2.5k advantage, and if the harassment continues, that'll only grow bigger for GreenAlert. Andrey still sitting on tier 2. GreenAlert, I think, also still sitting on tier 2. They're in this very awkward big map Expandapalooza kind of mindset, and the basic mechanics of their game seem to be falling apart. They're not playing this like they normally would.
And we actually see a Sputnik on the bottom.
Ooh, that's good. That's worth calling out to, and it's actually going to get GreenAlert the final corner of the map as well, having him surround Andrey in a sort of siege formation. But with this number of refineries, we'd expect both players having massive armies, but actually neither player has that big of an army per se. Andrey is trying to build riptides out of his armored facility, trying to eventually be able to break through into the water. Otherwise, his land army really has no ability to touch all of GreenAlert's economy.
Nice build blocks coming out of GreenAlert to try and save his refinery on the high ground, but the Ripjav does in the end laser lock the refinery down and take it out.
It's a very awkward position for everyone to be in, that Sputnik finally splits off from the units that it was with and goes to the corner. So GreenAlert is about to have 2 cranes, an MCV, 8 water refineries, and 2 land refineries if he rebuilds his main base refinery, as well as an oil derrick and a dry dock. And that's an insane setup for any game. I really love that these guys are leaning into the 4-player nature of this map. Plus 11k per minute for Andrey, plus 12k per minute for GreenAlert.
This is looking to be a long game. Even though GreenAlert has such a superior economy, the Soviets' naval forces simply wouldn't be able to reach Allied middle, where the majority of Andrey's economies are. So GreenAlert will just have to slowly mass up Twin Blades until they're able to confront IFVs directly.
Double armor facilities pumping out a ton of Riptides and IFVs now on the map. The tier 1 army is very strong here for Andrey, and he is trying to push forward now. Good drop, satellite drop here from GreenAlert. He does scatter the army of the enemy, and the Tesla coils are doing so much work against these javelins. Nice build blocks coming out from him as well. Most of the Riptides are now dead that were at least trying to attack. and these build blocks are just godlike. With 2 cranes and an MCV, he is able to defend his high ground base.
All of the bears are getting wild.
This is such a bizarre game to look at. There's so many expansions. There's so many avenues for stuff to come in. Dreadnoughts in the main base of Andrey. That attack from Andrey in the main base of GreenAlert. They may end up kind of swapping who has which base, but at the end of the day, GreenAlert controls those corners. 8 water expansions that haven't been touched.
Despite how awkward those corner positions are and how difficult it might be to defend all of them at the same time, Andrey actually only has 4 safe refineries in the middle of this map. All the other refineries of Andrey are able to be taken out and reached by the dreadnoughts of GreenAlert, as we are now seeing here one of the land refineries in the main base of Andrey does get destroyed.
GreenAlert's decision early on of securing purely the naval, investing fully into his naval, seems to be actually paying off, even though the early game looks a bit wonky for him, where his land was completely unprotected. But now Andrey is actually establishing multiple naval yards, trying to get as many Riptides as fast as he could in order to break through GreenAlert's top right economy.
Stingrays march their way onto land as these IFVs are going to have to contest with them, and they are going to be scared. Vacuum Imploder and Iron Curtain get added into the top right-hand corner of the map, but the Cryogeddon is going to be mixed in there as well. Riptides are leading the charge. Hydrofoils are here as well in case the Twin Blades want to show up, and it's just mass Riptides here. The Cryoshat fires off, but that's really not the end of this fight. Riptide's going to be moving forward. Hydrofoils get eliminated, so the Twin Blades are largely unopposed. Only one Hydrofoil remains in this location. At the same time, on the land, GreenAlert is tearing through the expansions of Andrey. It is going to be a trade, attempting one base for another, and with this army of Riptides, it seems like Andrey should be able to take care of this base, but it's so slow to knock it down. I'm not sure if Andrey is going to be able to tear through that base as quickly as GreenAlert is tearing it through the land forces of Andrey. Double Naval Yard is extremely powerful, and GreenAlert is mounting as much of a defense as he can. Tesla coils coming in, Akula subs as well, as these Riptides get whittled away at one by one. Andrey is out of cash despite having 7.4k per minute. He is out of money, and if he can't keep up this parade push, he is going to lose the opportunity to break this base.
On the ground, we're seeing a heroic Stingray, but they are going to be taken out with the help of IFVs and the Cryocopters left there as well. Bullfrogs are a little too late to the show there. In the meantime, in the top right-hand corner, the Riptides are doing a lot of damage, but the Akula subs are doing more. They're being so cost-effective. The Tesla Quells and build blocks are coming out and doing so much in this engagement. Low power comes out for GreenAlert, but it does not even matter at this point, as there's only one Riptide, and now no Riptides remain on the map.
Even though GreenAlert has been behind with his naval armies, did not really have much of Akula subs to defend against the massive Riptide army, just by having Stingrays popping out one after another using their surges.
GG! Andrey takes the loss in game number 11, and GreenAlert, with his 15k per minute, will win the show match, getting his revenge from Chrono Clash.
What an amazing number of games here played between those two players. I loved it that in the last game there, GreenAlert basically went ahead and said, Pokemon, gotta catch them all, and went to all the corners of the map to get all of the nail refineries, and actually managed to hold that position, use Sputniks there as well. Amazing build blocks coming out of him, and in the end, he did manage to prevail.
GreenAlert just had such a superior economy, even though he did not necessarily have as big of an army. Just by being able to pump out from multiple production facilities at the same time, he was able to fend off Andrey's final push. That was what his armored facility has been building the entire time. For some reason, Andrey never was able to deny GreenAlert's very long distance expansions. He had a chance early on with the Cryocopters, with GreenAlert basically having no land defenses, but he was not able to capitalize on that and nip GreenAlert's economy-focused build strategy in the bud.
And that will do it. Game 11 is decided in favor of GreenAlert. An extremely close series from these two. In a shorter best of 5, it's a 3-2. In a longer best of 11, it's a 6-5. These two guys are so evenly matched. A huge thanks to XYHC and Zads for joining me. Their links are in the description. Huge thanks to MediaStorm for sponsoring this rematch show match from GreenAlert and Andrey. Huge thanks to the players for participating. And of course, a big thank you to you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And this is Sybert signing out.